I never thought it possible that I'll be standing in front of you all today delivering a TEDxLancasterU talk. But here I am, doing exactly that. Something that I thought wasn't a possibility. How many of you here today, if someone walked up to you and told you that you'd be delivering a TEDx talk soon, would in your heart of hearts think that was a possibility? Not many. I was exactly the same. Through my life journey, there have been impossibles presented to me, either by myself or others around me. And what I want to do today is walk you through a few of those possible impossibles. Is this working? Now, possible impossibles are those necessary things that I have done to survive, whether consciously or unconsciously, which have somehow translated into possibles. And then by the time I've stopped and taken a look back and retraced my steps, I've conquered the impossible. Saint Francis of Assisi said, "Start by doing what is necessary, and then do what's possible. And suddenly, you're doing the impossible." Start by doing what is necessary. Then do what is possible. And suddenly, you're doing the impossible. So please take a journey with me through 3 of my possible impossibles today. Do we have any Russian language speakers in the room today? Очень приятно с вами познакомиться. My first possible impossible starts at the age of 15. When I was 15 years old, I was one of those young women, one of those teenagers who was pretty nerdy, good at her sciences. And at 15, I was at the Federal University of Technology, Owerri, a small town in the eastern part of Nigeria. I was at first year university at 15, studying industrial microbiology. And at the age of 16, I was on a plane headed for the former Soviet Union. I remember the trip from Lagos International Airport to Moscow. And we arrived in Moscow, and within about 48 hours, I was on a train, on a 12-hour journey to a town called Vinnytsia in the Ukraine. I remember that journey. I remember the smell, I remember the scenery, I remember the cold, I remember the fear, I remember the anxiety, mostly the fear of the unknown. There was excitement there, but mostly the fear of the unknown. It would have been very easy for me to have stayed at 15 at university in a country where I was born in Nigeria, around people that I knew, around the language where I could speak and understand. But I found myself in a country where I knew no one. I stood out like a sore thumb, the black woman in Russia. I had no network of friends or family around me. I think most of all, though, it was in the 80s, during Perestroika, when Russia or the former Soviet Union was moving through from that communism era into wherever it was going. I was scared. So I had to be in a place where I didn't speak the language Cultural integration was, of course, very, very important. And I learned to be patient. That's one big lesson I learned, patience. We queued for absolutely everything. And you'd see a queue, and you stand at the end of that queue, not necessarily knowing what was at the end of it. You just queued. It could be chleb, bread in this case. Or sometimes after queuing for a few hours, it could be a torchlight, it could be anything. So you learned to be patient, resilience. And in terms of cultural integration, you can imagine being 16 years old and someone coming up to you and asking you, as a black woman, is your anatomy any different from a Russian woman's? Wow. And of course, there was the sort of financial bit. A lot of people here are students, so you can certainly relate to this. It's not like in the UK where during the summer or winter when we have school break, we can go and find a job and work, in the local pub or something to earn a bit more money. I couldn't do that as a foreigner in Russia. But I was privileged in the sense that I could still come over to the UK where my family was during the summer holidays or the winter, so I considered myself privileged in that regard. I love jeans. Not the jeans that you heard talked about before. I'm talking about denim, jeans. I love jeans because the Russians love jeans. And I would make the 10-hour journey from my university in Kharkov. I'd go from Kharkov to Kiev, 10 hours. I'd go from Kiev by train to Berlin, 12 hours. I'd go from Berlin to the Hook of Holland. From the Hook of Holland, I'd board the ferry to Harwich. And from Harwich to Liverpool Street in London. I love Liverpool Street Market. Because in Liverpool Street Market, you could buy jeans. So you could buy jeans for between £3 and £5, and I'd load about 4 or 5 suitcases full of denim, full of jeans, all shapes and sizes. And I'd make that same 3-day journey back to Kharkov. And I would sell these jeans to my fellow students for about $20 a piece. Start by doing what is necessary, and then do what's possible. And before you know it, you've conquered the impossible. I graduated in 1995. I came back to the UK with a language under my belt, with a BSc and MSc in Pharmacy from the Ukrainian Academy of Pharmacy. My first possible impossible. Everyone here has something that they must have. There's something that you just know that you have to have at some stage of your life that you cannot do without. One of those things for me was being a mother. I had to be a mom. I was born to be a mother. But I had gynecological issues, polycystic ovaries, fibroids, whatever, and I was told it would be very hard for me to conceive. Now that was one impossible that nobody was going to tell me was impossible. And maybe because I believed in a power greater than myself, I don't know, but I knew that was going to happen. So I got married and did what was necessary. And a year after I got married, got pregnant, and had my miracle child, Isaac. So I went from a mother of none to a mother of one. I got divorced. I was a single mother for a while. And then I met my soulmate and remarried. I came into that relationship with my son, and he came into the relationship with his 2 children. So these were 2 families coming together. And of course, those of you who have experienced this kind of thing know that bringing 2 families together can be tough. We lived through it, more solid than ever. I went from a mother of none to a mother of 1 to a mother of 3. I got married to my soulmate, and we wanted to have children of our own too. So we did what was necessary. Didn't work. Like I said, nobody was going to tell me that this was going to be an impossible. We went for our first cycle of IVF. And it didn't work. Second cycle, didn't work. A third cycle of IVF, didn't work. By the time we got to our 4th cycle of IVF, we're emotionally and financially crippled. Our twins, Joshua and Amara, showed up. I went from a mother of none to a mother of 1 to a mother of 3 to a mother of 5. Start by doing what is necessary, and then what's possible. And suddenly you've conquered the impossible. My second impossible. Now, throughout all these things, just imagine I was working and holding down a full-time job. After graduating in 1995, but like a lot of you, you graduate from uni and you come and you think, what do I do? I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I qualified as a pharmacist. I could have gone to Sunderland and taken my exams to convert my degree to a British degree, but I didn't want to do that. I talk a lot, so I didn't want to work as a community pharmacist or as a hospital pharmacist. I wanted to be around people. I wanted to talk. So I got a job in skincare and cosmetics. I worked at Phoenix of Braincross, John Lewis, Harrods, Selfridges, selling skincare and cosmetics while I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I then stumbled across clinical research. And therein began my journey in the pharmaceutical industry, an industry where I absolutely love, where you're constantly working on bringing miracle medicines to patients. I worked my way up from entry level into leadership roles in the pharmaceutical industry, which I love and I'm very proud of today. And I'll go back to my twins for a second. After going through all of this and getting the twins, Joshua, our boy, was born with severe eczema, a scratch till you bleed type of eczema. I thought nothing is going to bother these twins, not after the whole journey to get them. And steroids would work on Joshua and calm him, but that's not sustainable for a newborn. So I tapped into my African roots and got some ingredients sent over to me from my family in Nigeria, and the mixing in my kitchen started. I started to mix until I found my Eureka formula that managed Joshua's eczema. I did what was necessary for my boy. And that's how my company, Naturally Tribal Skincare, was born. I call it from kitchen to kingdom. And today, through Naturally Tribal, and it's not only about skincare, it's really about the women who make the ingredients that I bring into the UK to make these products, about empowering them with the support of people like the Commonwealth, empowering these women. So I feel like I have a purpose. I love what I do in the pharmaceutical industry. I love what I do outside of work. I'm one of these people. I don't ski. I don't have many hobbies, but I found that balance. And as a woman, I'm quite greedy. I wanted it all. I still want it all. I want a great career, and I want a great home. So doing what is necessary today is extremely important. Start by doing what's necessary today. I know it's exam time, etc. And then before you know it, you're doing the impossible. And by the time you look back, you've conquered your impossible. So I'm going to leave you with two things. They're in my local language, Igbo. The first phrase is echidime. Echidime literally means tomorrow is pregnant. When you think about a pregnant woman, everything she does today, here and now, what she eats, how she looks after herself, who she hangs around with, determines the future of that pregnancy. The second word there is my grandfather's name, Onyemechi, which literally means nobody knows tomorrow. We don't know what tomorrow will bring. So whether we're talking about music or the digital era or virtual reality or dance or anything else we've heard today, start by doing what is necessary and then do what's possible. And before you know it, you will conquer the impossible. Thank you.